or John. They'll be coming through your cars to meet you and greet you, tell you about the amenities of the train cars, and if you have any questions or auxiliary knowledge you would like to know, I'm sure they would have a plethora that they can draw from, since they have been here as long as I have, or even longer. So just because they don't wield the power of the microphone, it doesn't mean they don't know as much as me. So feel free to ask them anything you'd like along the way. That does it for us here. What I'd like to do now, of course, is introduce you to our train crew, the men who make the train go. Now the head of the train, the boss of the train car hegemon, if you will, his name is Jeremy Simmons. You'll see him coming through with a golden conductor hat. Joining him today is the train's brakeman. His name is Chris Williams. One of my favorite gags that I've seen over the course of the half-decade I've worked here as a tour guide is if you see the conductor or the brakeman possibly at the same time, you may get worried and think, well, who's driving the train? Well, that would be our engineer, and his name is John Westfall. We are about 3/4 of the way through already. I hope you enjoyed it. So I have to hold up my battle emblazoned shield that reads, "No fun zone" here on the train. I know it's easy to get lost in the vistas that we have to offer you here on this train in the mountains of Southeast Alaska, and it's easy to forget that this is a very real train going over a very real mountain. So we do have some real rules that we must abide by as we take this trip up the hill. First and foremost, let's talk about the outside. Now there's platforms on either side of the train car. You probably noticed them as you got on board this morning. They are closed momentarily until our conductor lets me know it's okay for you to go outside and use them. There is a silver metallic bridge that connects, quote unquote, the cars together. This is called an apron. It is designed to move freely with the swaying of the train and can herk and jerk quite mightily. So that leads me to the train's first rule here. There is absolutely no crossing in between the train cars. So what we'll see outside are some chain links. They are designed to remind you not to cross. These are basically decorations. Please do not lean on the chains that we live up outside. They are not weight bearing. They can easily snap and break off if you're trying to lean out and take a picture of something. And that is not a ride we want you to take. We want you to stay safe here on the train, so please avoid leaning on the chains outside. And lastly, about the platform, if you're under the age of 16, I'll give you a special and warm welcome aboard, but however, at this moment in time, you must now choose your favorite responsible adult, and you must accompany them at all times, especially if you want to use the platforms outside. Okay, so that does it for outside. Let's talk about the inside. There are stoves in your cars. Some of them are on. These are not decorations. They get very hot. These are real kerosene burning stoves here, and please do not be like me and accidentally burn your hands several times per season because you're not paying attention. If you're unhappy with the train car temperature, please let one of your train personnel know, and we will get that situated for you as the best as we possibly can. So, this leaves me once again, I know I've talked about it already, and I know we're all tired of hearing about it, I know I am, but I must talk to you about the mask rules one more time here. This is an FRA federally mandated rule. So everyone on board, including all of the train staff, all of us included, must wear a mask at all times that covers your chin, mouth, and nose throughout the entire duration of the train trip. Thank you so much for helping us. This is a small, tight-knit community here, and we very much enjoy our jobs. And you know, us keep safe allows us to continue our operations safely. So thank you so much for that. And finally here, this is the Tongass National Forest. It is a sacred and protected place here. And especially in Skagway, it covers 75% of all Southeast Alaska. So thank you so much for not smoking. We are under threat here I'm just going to go ahead and gesture vaguely. So thank you so much for not smoking. And lastly, there is no imbibing of any alcoholic beverages on this train throughout the entire duration. If you brought a little something extra with you, put it back in your bag and wait for the saloons back in Skagway when we come back. Alright, so I'm going to let you rest from my voice here for about a minute or so, and I'll pick up the tour here in just a second. here is the Gold Rush Cemetery. You'll see it coming up shortly on the right-hand side. So keep staring out to the right if you'd like to see it, as I talk to you a little more about the opening history. Down in 1893, there was something called the Great Panic in the Americas, the United States. Specifically, a great financial panic that happened that caused banks to foreclose, houses went under, people at the time were legitimately starving in the streets. During that era, unemployment rates skyrocketed to about 50% in some of the worst states that were hit by this Great Recession, and on average it was around 20%. So 1 in 5 Americans were out of a job, either homeless, had lost everything. In 1896, roughly 3 years later, a man who was goofing around in the Yukon area by the name of George Washington Carmack scooped out what he called the $5 pan, and thus the gold rush kind of got a little bit hotter. So, about 2 months later, he came in to San Francisco on a steamboat with about $1 million worth of gold in it. Of course, this set the entire United States on fire, so to speak, as if you can imagine yourself picking up a newspaper, destitute in the streets that says gold, gold, gold with Klondike, you'd be probably pretty apt to find yourself wanting to have a little bit of an adventure. And about 100,000 other people will agree with you, as that many people came scrambling in the Skagway in hopes of being one of the first to make it up to the Yukon area and get their fortune. So, once they got here, they were pretty disappointed to find out a couple of different things. First and foremost, the gold is nowhere close to Skagway. It's 600 miles away. Not only this, but then you had to choose one or the other treacherous mountain footpaths to help you get there. About 8 miles west of here, there's a town called DAY3. It is defunct now, ghost town. But it sits at the world-famous and still open Chilkoot Trail. Now, if you've ever seen the photograph of the prospectors, miners, or whatever you want to call them, going almost vertical up the page with a single line of rope in between them, that's the Golden Staircase on the Chilkoot Trail. Or you could stay in Skagway and take the White Pass Trail, which we'll loosely traverse alongside throughout our journey today. Not nearly as popular as a path choice, and my hunch is it has to do with the weather. The highest I've ever been able to confirm was 86-mile-an-hour winds at the pass, 60-foot monstrous snowdrifts at their most ridiculous, but on average they are around 20 feet. Still, not exactly hiking weather. And the cherry on top for all this is the Canadian government found out about 100,000 people coming into their country with no food, no supplies, and no experience, and they said no way. So they mandated that every single person coming up this way, trying to make their way in Canada, must have a year's worth of supplies before they were allowed in. It was called the drumstick as a nickname, or just good on the goods. So now, instead of just taking it once and making it up there with your pack, you had to carry 1,500 pounds with you, feet by feet, on upwards on the extreme 40-round trips. So just to start your journey, you had 800 miles of round-trip hiking just to make it your first 20 on the map. And then you had 580 to go. as we travel through this area of the train ride, of course, this is the Tongass National Forest here in southeast Alaska. Outside, you can see some paper birch out there, western hemlock, the tall Christmas tree, gangly-looking hand trees out there, the Sitka spruce, the state tree of Alaska, of course. The river out there is the Skagway River. We'll be traversing alongside that through most of our journey today. So this is the Skagway River here, of course. It gets its color due to something called granular silt or rock flour. As the glaciers recede in any given area, and ours here are receding indefinitely as far as I know, they vibrate very quickly but almost unnoticeably, and they grind down the mountains around them in what they call the path of least resistance. As it does this, it creates something called rock flour. And that rock flour gets inside the river itself, changing the color, and it can do so fairly dramatically. If you see the large dinner plate-sized leaves outside with red berries on it, that is the Devil's Club. It is sort of like an Alaskan cactus because they're spiny half-inch thorns on the side, or at least they can get at least half-inch thorns. It's also referred to as hiking bane, or hiker's bane, because if you trip and fall on your hiking and you want to brief chopper for something, sometimes you will grab this spiny stalk of this and it will break off in your hand. I know this by first-hand experience because I have done it. And your hands will kind of boil over in festering wounds. But if that happens, you can actually cut the plant in half and use the bone inside to help with these wounds. What we're going to be doing here is coming to a short stop. We are coming up on a 360 panoramic view out of town, but we are going to pause before we get there, but I will let you know what we're going to do before we get there. So, what I'll do with the microphone is point out what we're going to see for the front of the train here, since we're not going to make any stops specifically for viewing. This is a flag stop here. We're going to let off some hikers. Those of us in the middle will take a little bit longer. Those of you in the back will take a few extra seconds for you to see what I'm talking about. On the right-hand side, what we're going to see first, after we start moving again after a brief pause, we will see a red caboose. Now, this caboose once served actively in the White Pass rolling stock, but it was actually donated to the Forest Service in 1994. Now, what they did was retrofit it into a hiking cabin, so you and 6 of your buddies can rent it out for the low price, $54 a night. And if you're on a budget like me, that is the cheapest place in town. Now, past the caboose on the right-hand side as well is actually one of my personal favorite vistas. This is called the Denver Valley. Left-hand side, we'll see the train moving in full motion over the bridge as we cross over the east fork of the Skagway River today. So your fans out there. And then finally, fourth and lastly, on your left-hand shoulder, we can see all three of those sides just here. Nice S-curve or S-line in the Skagway River. And as we start moving here again, one more time here briefly. Right-hand side, Denver Caboose, Denver Valley. Left-hand side, train in motion, and the Skagway River. waterfalls coming up here. I know there are many waterfalls named that out there in the world, but this one is ours.
You're looking at Mount Clifford and Mount Carmack. That's fresh snow from the last race.
The platforms aren't big enough. Yep.
Exponentially, as the men, as you can see up there, there's a large dark gray granite rock face. It's called slippery rock. Now the men were hanging sideways off the mountain here by ropes, and they were catacombing the ledge like I explained back to Rocky Point. But unlike Rocky Point, they didn't have any even ground to run on. So what they did was complain that there was no room up there for even an eagle to land, is what they said. Now I tell you this because on the valley below, there was something called White Pass City. It was 16 tents and 17 saloons. Now the men who had to work on the railway had to pack up all their tools and gear for the day and hike all the way up the side of the mountain there. It takes roughly 2.5 hours to 3 hours, depending on who you were. And your reward for all this, I'm told so far, is it was $3 per day, and you had to pay one back for room and board. It was actually pretty good pay at the time.
I missed it.
Out of nowhere.
We look up too much up there. We missed down here.